Okay, we're talking food. I love it. I love to consume it. I like to enjoy it. I'm not a huge fan of actually preparing it, and I have a strong dislike for the sentence, "What's for dinner?" Probably like so many of you out there. Now today we're sitting down with food specialist Korey Kealey, who's the founder of Kitchen Connected. We're going to get a better understanding of how we are consuming foods these days, the growing difficulties I think with people and food intolerances and allergies. We're going to talk about the shift in the food industry and get down to like really the basics of the challenge of meal prep and getting things ready and on the table for your family. So really excited for Episode 6 of Living Your Life with Leanne Lang. This podcast is brought to you by Extension Marketing, and if you're looking for more information, you can find it at extensionmarketing.com. Korey, great to have you.
So fun to be here.
I know. This is a different outlet for us, and I love that I can go back a little bit with you. I mean, I know what you're like in the kitchen, but I need to ask, like, when did your love or your passion for food or being in the kitchen really start?
So I was not allowed in our kitchen growing up. My mom is a homegrown chef, self-taught, incredible foodie, probably one of the most talented food people I've ever met, all self-taught. So when she would cook, people would just want her food. And this is growing up in Peterborough, small community. She had 4 kids. She made her own yogurt. She sprouted alfalfa sprouts. Like, she did it all out of passion. So I kind of giggle about it because literally we were not allowed to cook because that was my mom's place. But we were fed the most incredible foods from growing up. Like, my mom made her own pasta. She made pesto, and she'd freeze it in an ice cube tray. So when I came home from school, my after school snack was homemade pasta with pesto and cream sauce that was grown in our garden. So I think, I don't know where, I didn't even start cooking until I was 20 something.
That you were able to get in and actually cut
I
up
was
stuff
allowed
for yourself.
to. Yeah, so my passion for good food probably was just my exposure to it, having been fed and watched my mom do it. And then when I went to university, same thing, did a residence, gained 15 pounds, ate the meal plan, had no appreciation for cooking for myself, got my first apartment with my roommates. We ate Kraft dinner, and I loved that chunky clam chowder in a can, like that you got at Red Lobster. Like, that's literally what it's out of a can. That I think I ate, and I would eat the full big can of it. And then we went to Europe, and I was 30 pounds heavier from after I was done
after you
university, left home, not cooking, no idea. So I finished my university degree basically as any other normal person who never cooked for themselves, and started looking at my grandmother's health at that time. And I had young grandparents, and she was immobilized. She had a lot of pain and suffering, and I just looked at her and I just thought, I don't want to be like that when I'm 55. I don't want to be in a wheelchair. And I started really looking at what I was interested in outside of my university, which was just a general BA in psychology and French and philosophy and whatever. And I realized that when I was really interested in something, it had everything to do with nutrition. And so after I finished university, I had that hard time where I felt like a loser. I had no skills. I had worked in restaurants as waitressing, and so I had to really dig deep into what made me tick, what I loved, what my passion was, and it was definitely food and nutrition. So
okay, but at this point, I'm listening and I'm following the path.
I know.
So at this point, you've eaten the 15 pounds, the freshman 15.
Yeah.
You've done the Europe, you've done your KD and Kraft dinner.
Yeah.
Did you have to look at yourself first to say, my own nutrition, my own way of life is not going to be conducted to following this? This path?
I was like a chunky kid, and I'm tall, so people, I wouldn't necessarily look like I was overweight, but I for sure was overweight, and not feeling great. So basically, I just took it on to teach myself. I started rollerblading to work. I got my bike, just becoming more active. And then it was the food component that I really loved. And probably because I had that foundation from my mom showing me how to do it. And then I was like, I got to do this for myself. And I need to learn how to do it. And anyways, I loved it. So I found a program at Kentville College that was a food nutrition management program. It was a 2-year college after I finished university. I thought, okay, I'm going to do that. So I got married in November, and then I went to college full-time in January and drove to Kemptville College back and forth. And I was never happier in my entire life. It was exactly every part of that course, from food styling to food presentation to human nutrition, product development, flower arranging, like there's these catering management. Every part of it was exactly what made me tick as what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, when I was there, I thought, like most people, graduated and went to work in a hospital as a food service supervisor or with retirement homes, and that I wasn't doing that. I thought, no, I'm not doing that. I just wanted this information for my own knowledge. And so when we do a 5-week placement, they wanted me to go there, and I said, no, I don't need to graduate. I just wanted this information. But because I actually was the top student, I got scholarships and awards because I was so into it. They needed me to graduate, so they put me with the dietitians at the City of Ottawa. And my assignment was working on developing a marketing plan for fruits and vegetable consumption. So I got to work with these dietitians on this incredible thing, and it just, when I look back, the path that that set me on was amazing, because that's basically what I do now with Foodland Ontario and other marketing boards, is I educate people on fruits and vegetables and try to make people understand how important they are and what to do with them and la la la. So that was my 5-week placement, and it kind of set me on my way with learning and teaching and educating and loving.
And I look back because in all the segments that we've done on the show, your food presentation as well is just beautiful. And I'm thinking of you talking about being in these classes and having to kind of look at all of that. The way you present food makes such a difference, because we eat with our eyes also, right? Yes. But when you make these healthier options look so good, it becomes very tempting.
You have to try it at least. Yeah, we definitely eat with our eyes first, and that's my mom. My mom used to make this beautiful pear tart, and then that's when, in the day when you had to, develop your film, so she would take hundreds of pictures of every side of it in the light and everything, and so she was like the original food stylist to me, and presentation is everything, it still is. But at Kemptville College, I definitely learned interesting things, like odd numbers look better on a plate. So if you're putting on, let's say, potatoes, put 3, 5, or 1, but don't put 4, because the eye likes odd numbers. So little interesting things that you learn and apply all the time. Color, height, all these different things make a difference when we're looking at food.
So not only on a television set, but even when you're entertaining. I mean, that makes such a difference.
Oh, I'm ridiculous. At home, I still, like, my family, they're just used to it, but I think, if I make them a grilled cheese, I put the ketchup in a little ramekin on the side, and, I make sure I wipe off the crumbs that, you cut it on the plate and it looks like a big mess. I do not like that. So I'm not a perfectionist.
They have been spoiled.
They are used to pretty stuff.
Right. Do you still love it? I mean, you said, like, you found your place, all those years ago, studying this, but do you still have a passion for being in the kitchen and trying new things and developing recipes and kind of presenting it to the family and to the kids to try?
Yeah, it's my thing for sure. That's my happy place. I go in phases where I'm so sick of cooking and I have no idea what to cook as well, and but then I'll get inspired by something and it sets me back, and I get, I love just throwing food into my kitchen and then setting it out on the counter and go, okay, what are we making with this? And try to come up with something different, or, more healthy, or a twist on a classic. So right now I'm heavily into like vegan foods and trying to figure, not that we eat vegan, but it's a growing trend. It's a plant-based eating is really popular. I do eat gluten-free, dairy-free to feel my best, and that's a big challenge for me. It's huge. So I am constantly trying to feed my, I'm a flavor junkie. I like it all. So when someone tells me this is my bread I get to eat and it's horrible, then I don't want to eat it. Like, I just
You'll figure out a different way.
I have to find out a different way.
Okay, since you brought that in, let's talk about this, because I think for a lot of people, they're dealing with food intolerances. Yeah. They're dealing with allergies, and these are, I think, things that are happening later in life, right? Like, I know now, and I can figure it out. When I have cheese, I'm guaranteed a stomach ache. Oh. A couple hours later, and I don't have as much dairy, and I went to lactose free. And these are things that I think a lot of us are doing later on in life, or finally realizing this feeling I've had in my stomach all these years, there's got to be a reason behind it. And so you've seen that shift in people understanding what food intolerance is or allergies and how to cope with that.
Yeah, that was my thing. When I turned 40, I felt the worst I'd ever felt in my life. And by, stereotypical menu, canned food guide, I'm a very healthy eater. I would eat my balanced breakfast. I'd eat cottage cheese with diced tomatoes and basil and salt and pepper on it, and then I was getting all these like white dots all over my face. And I thought, oh, that's weird. My stomach hurt after I would eat a big meal. My friend, it makes me laugh because we'd have a beautiful dinner of like mashed potatoes and chicken and vegetables, with maple syrup and butter on them, and delicious and not bad. And we're exercising, so you can eat whatever you want typically. And then at the end of the dinner, I'd be like, I gotta lie down. And she'd say, you gotta stop drinking water with your meal. I think it's like taking away your digestive enzymes. I'm like, yeah, you're right. I gotta cut out the water. Never ever wanted to blame the food. And when I had to dig deep and look at, when do I feel unwell? When is my stomach like this? When do I feel like my rib cages are busting? And it's not that I've eaten very much, it's just that it's not sitting well. And that's when I had to get some food sensitivities tested, and I had everything. I had dairy, wheat, red meat, like every single thing that I probably ate too much of. At this time too, don't forget, I was working as a milk calendar spokesperson, going on media tours across Canada for 4 years in a row, teaching people how to cook with milk. I worked for the beef farmers, as a spokesperson and teaching people, how to cook a prime rib, how to cook an oven roast, what's the difference. This impacted not just my favorite foods, but my livelihood. So I was not accepting it very well at all, and I still don't. I'll still go, forget that. I'm eating those mashed potatoes with whipped cream, butter, and sour cream and cheese on top. And then I pay the price, and I go, okay, I won't do that again. But it still is. I still struggle with it because those are my favorite foods.
How should people, because there's others that are dealing with this, are there ways to kind of find new recipes or ways around it? I know with you, we were cooking with cashews, right? Because, cashews are a way to implement when you can't do the dairy. Like, you have then looked at ways and other foods to have a similar taste or to be able to create something.
Yeah, we're
really
satisfy lucky.
The appetite.
We're like this generation now. We're lucky that we can research so easily on the internet and find people who have lived this way their whole life and will never deviate from it and have improvised in all kinds of different ways. Some, just because you're eating vegan though, or you're eating dairy free, doesn't mean you're eating well. So you find what works for you and baby step yourself into it. So like if you need a mac and cheese substitute, then you find out how to make it. And cashews are incredible. So cashews have no flavor really. They're really neutral. So when you soak cashews in water or boil them for 10 minutes, soak for 4 hours or boil for 10 minutes, it softens them and it makes them like really creamy. So in your blender, blend with a little bit of water, and that makes like a paste that you can turn into cream cheese. You can turn it into like a soft cheese if you ferment and add some things. There's all nutritional yeast.
Cream, I think we had done a cream.
We did. So I make cashew cream for my coffee. So then I would not make a paste. I would do 1 cup or like half a cup of soaked cashews with about 4 cups of water, and then I put in 2 dates and some maple syrup, cinnamon, and nutmeg, and then you blend that up, and it is the most delicious cream for your coffee. And otherwise I just drink my coffee black, and I'm perfectly happy that way. But oh my gosh, it makes me happy. I do not feel like I'm missing anything. I think it's the biggest treat. So, but it's a process, and you have to try things out and experiment. See what works
for you. Is it accepting it first and foremost too? And what would you say to have people go and find out what their food intolerances are, that it does make a massive difference?
It makes a huge difference. So go get tested. Go to either your doctor, go to a naturopath. I have one that I really like. I've been to a few. Sarah Vadabon-Coeur. She's on Preston Street, right above Raw, Pulp and Grind. She's got an IV lounge. She's very current on what's going on with everything. She just did a talk on thyroid problems yesterday that I was following her on. So anyways, find somebody, talk to your friends who have been through it, and get just go for a consultation and just hear what they have to say. You do have to accept it, because I did not accept it. I waited till it was, but I was suffering from heartburn, extreme heartburn all the time. I was tired. I would say borderline depressed. And I'm not I'm a high energy person, and that's always been something people would describe me as, like, I don't even know where you get the energy to do this. And I think because I have that personality, I was able to push through my fatigue and all that stuff, but not myself for a long time. My skin was terrible. I have red bumps all over my arms, all over my legs, and I had that my whole life. And when I went to the doctor when I was in like early 20s, they're like, oh, that's just folliculitis. And I thought, okay.
But it was
I
food
like,
even
is
back
there
then.
a cream that you can put on that? And they said no. And then when I had gone to see Dr. Joelle, she said, oh, we call that chicken skin. It's actually a sign of food intolerances. And I thought, oh, lovely. The doctor told me it's nothing I can do about it. And truly, when I followed the food plan, that my skin cleared up. It went completely away. My dark circles went away. My brain fog went away. It scared me how much energy I had. I'm like, I don't even know how to harness this feeling of wellness. It was almost scary to me that I felt
but
that
it's got to be exciting. And it was accepting the foods you couldn't have and adding the ones. Did you have to add things to it?
No, I just had to cut out. I had to
cut
cut out dairy and wheat and red wine and coffee. Like for a short term, for 2 months I did it. So what happened to me when I did that, I run marathons, not anymore, but I did at the time. I worked out, I biked, like very super active. And I would say fit, but always had this stomach bloat. And normal, I thought I had 3 kids, whatever. Of course I have a stomach, everybody does. But when after like 6 weeks, all of the sudden, I deflated, and I attribute it 100% to inflammation in my body. I also had pain always down the entire right side, like an ache, not like stabbing pain, but this kind of dull ache down the right side of my body. That 100% went away. The other thing I had were really irregular menstrual cycles, and like awful. That completely changed. It just, everything seemed to fall into place, and it was only to do with what I was choosing to eat in my body and put in my body. So it was significant for me, and I tested it long enough. So that is, those are the things that keep you on that track. And so that's 9 years ago now that started, and I test it all the time. I'll eat the big piece of pizza. I'll do it. And it just reinforces, no, this isn't in my head, this is the way it is. And you need to, when it's important, you need to make sure that you're on track.
And when you started to then look into development of recipes, because you had to make these changes, you were doing it for yourself, but then also because you're about education and giving ideas and recipes, because that's what you're so good at. Was it interesting for you then to start creating recipes and start to create things for other people that they could enjoy, having certain things taken out of their meal plans, but some things to add to?
Well, so I could see very early on when I was given my food plan that it would be very hard to succeed for most people, because I love cooking and I do get excited by recipe development. So I could look at that list and go, okay, I can have all these herbs. I'm going to make a delicious pesto, and then I'm going to put it on these boring vegetables that I have to eat. Or, so I started doing that. I did that. I made 4 different pesto recipes, like a cilantro one, a basil one, one that was more kind of a mix, like oregano, rosemary, that type of thing. So I would be able to mix up the flavors within my food groups that way. The bread that we were given as a replacement was hard to make. It was weird ingredients. Like at that time, I'd never heard of quinoa at that time. There was flax, millet, teff, like amaranth. I'm like, what is that? So I went to the health food store and basically got all this stuff, made it, and then went back and said, this is ridiculous. Like nobody's doing this. If I'm not doing this, nobody is. So if this is the key to success to this program, it's a failure.
If a food expert can't make it, then the average person isn't going to make it.
Not interested in doing it.
Was that the idea behind the Energive, behind the cookie, behind the crackers that you ended up developing?
Well, so that was the thing. I was allowed to eat as much of this bread that I wanted in the morning. As much, so I'm not joking. I'd make a tray, like a big, huge tray, and I'd eat it all. And then for lunch, you would just have your protein and then your whatever vegetables, and for dinner too. So I was never hungry though. Like, that's what I couldn't understand, is I did not have hunger ever in my day. Was I looking for a snack or anything? So it was working, and I was on board. So that was, but there were some things that you could, like, if I could find a packaged good that filled my food requirements, I could buy it and eat it, but there was nothing. So that's what made me realize I'm not the only person who can't have corn, rice, potato starch, all those things that are in most packaged goods. And so that's where Energive began, and at that time also those pestos for wellness, herbal teas. Like, there's all these like very simple things that if you are eating those, your body's not craving the other stuff. It's unbelievable, really. So Energive, that's how it all started. But the crackers, to me, it was called a crunchy bread, but for shelf life and all that stuff that goes with packaged food, you need, no moisture. You need to have a shelf life of 6 months or more. So they turned from a crunchy bread into a cracker. Same health properties, but just one that could be sold on a shelf.
What was the reaction for people who were living similar to you, but finally had products now that tasted, that had taste to them, flavor, and were meeting the requirements?
That's my most proud thing I've done, is that that product really helped people who are suffering. People who have celiac disease, they could trust that it was peanut free, all those things, and no sugar, no added sodium. Like, these are all unheard of properties in most packaged foods. So having a product that's a safe haven and tasted good, which is important to me, obviously, because I'm a flavor junkie, but that feels good. And I would get the best emails from people just talking about how finally they can eat something that they didn't have to make themselves. And I get it. So yeah, that was pretty good. That was pretty great.
This podcast is brought to you by Extension Marketing. They are a new breed of marketing agency that acts as your virtual marketing department, designing and implementing cost-effective marketing strategies that will grow your business. I can speak to this personally, as I've been using the Extension Marketing team to help me launch and grow my business. Founder Pat Whalen has been a lifesaver for me, a genuine coach, guiding me along the way into uncharted territory. Tell them you're a friend of the show and receive a free 1-hour consultation. Check them out at extensionmarketing.com. Do you find that the food industry is catching up? I mean, you were able to create those Energive crackers a couple of years ago, but are there more options out there right now for people who are suffering, but they're getting to be a little bit more creative when they're heading to the grocery store?
Yeah, no, it's so much better now. Like, literally, like that, when we were making our crackers, it was decided if we put quinoa on it, because it was such a weird product. Like, no one even heard of quinoa before, or I even hadn't. Like, and that's my world I lived in. So I think there's a lot more people looking for it. I think maybe it is because of the internet and people are researching more, and there is more access to information that we're figuring out. I don't feel well, and you can kind of learn from others, but product development is huge. It's becoming very innovative. People are understanding that it has to be low sugar, no refined sugars, good fats, I think we are in a much better situation than I was, and that's, for sure.
Okay. You're also in a situation where you have 3 kids, and you had 3 very active, competitive, growing. I mean, Alexander's how tall?
He's 6'8".
6'8". So you have to imagine what it's like to feed 3 growing, very active kids. So I want to hit on what you're really good at as well, and that is the meal planning and the concept of families being on the go, on the run, and trying to figure out what to serve, how to have food on the table, snacks in the fridge. What is your secret?
I don't know. Well, so in a way, it's not super fair, because that's what I do for a living, and I love it, and it's not a chore for me.
It's a chore for most people.
It is, and sometimes it is for me, and then I think, whoa, if this is hard for you, like, how are people who work out of the home, leaving at 8 a.m. and getting home at 5:30, what are they doing? So I think you can only do the best you can do. If you can start your meals thinking around vegetables and fruit and vegetables, and then make that your main, and then back it up with the protein, and then what does the carb look like, if that makes any sense.
Okay, that's almost opposite, I think, to how people
That's
would
how.
normally grocery shop. I'm thinking
I
people
know.
will go, okay, we're going to have a fish, a meat, the steak.
I know.
Let's add the potato. Like, that's backwards. So
I know.
I like it, but I think that's going to be for a lot of people going,
Okay.
wait,
We're reversing
we're
it.
reversing. But you would suggest reverse it. That's how you start.
Well, here's the thing. Plant-based foods are what give our bodies what they need for everything. It builds, like, I mean, we need our proteins, we need all that, but we are not, as a society, getting enough fruits and vegetables in our diet, and it's the hardest thing to do. So, I don't know. I know what I'm saying sounds crazy, but it is important. So even, like, listen, so if this was a great trick that my friend did, and she would just, every day her kids got home from school and she had a massive thing of vegetables and dip, hummus, whatever, out, and nothing else was out. So the kids came home starving and they devoured that plate of vegetables, and so she thought, okay, well, now I don't have to stress out about having a salad at dinner or whatever, so then that takes that off. So then she has her pasta or whatever, and not such an emphasis on eat your vegetables, because the vegetables have been eaten in advance. So that's a trick and a tip, and I think a lot of people do that. I think it's, and our vegetables don't have to be, they can be raw vegetables. So we did that meal prep thing at your house, and on Sunday, got a mat, like when you're peeling your carrots, peel the entire bag and then put them in a container so they're ready to go. That's one step less you have to take. Celery, wash it, take the pieces off you don't like the look of, get it in the bag.
You go through a lot of Ziplocs.
Yeah, I recycle them too. And if you can buy the glass things, that Costco actually has them. It's very inexpensive, and they're big, so they hold a lot. So whatever storage containers, I think you need them. The worst thing you can do, people are like, well, eating healthy is so expensive. I'm like, no, it's not. When you throw food out, that's expensive. So buy your food, get it ready to be able to. So when you get home from work and you're stressed out and you don't know, if you just start chopping up your vegetables, like I would just, and this is what I'll sometimes do, I'll just start chopping an onion, and then I'll grab my carrot, my celery. Those are my go-to things. They may at the beginning of a chili, they're the beginning of a tomato sauce, they're the beginning of a stir fry, they're the beginning of a soup. So you start with your onion, your carrot, your celery, just get started, and then go, okay, now what am I doing with this? Okay, so now I have some red cabbage, I'm gonna shred that up, throw it in. This looks like a stir fry to me now. So, build your vegetables around it, get them going, and then throw the chicken in, throw the shrimp in, or whatever. And then what's your sauce? I don't know, throw something on there. So if you just kind of get started, but if it's ready to get started, you're ahead of the game.
So if you already have your carrots, your celery, and your onion chopped and in a Tupperware or in the fridge, you start to take those out and you just throw things in. So you're not necessarily planning that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
I'm not.
Okay. How do you recommend people then to do somewhat your style?
Yeah.
By getting and having that base of the vegetables in there.
So
and still feel like they've got enough food to last them when they go grocery shopping, that it's going to last them for the week.
Okay, so I think we are basing it on, so you know what your schedule is. So basically, the reality of this is that you need to do food prep. So when can you do it? Is it Sunday? Can you take 2 hours to get yourself organized and make a plan for the week? Or is it Monday? And then probably midweek, you're going to need at least another hour and a half at some point to top up what you've done. So you need to think about your protein. Roasting a chicken is amazing. It's easy. You can either throw in your Crockpot, you can put it in the oven, or like I'll go to Costco and buy massive amounts of chicken, and then I barbecue all of it, and then I chop it up, and then I put some in the freezer in individual bags, or I put some in the fridge. Like, you're not going to go through all of it. So it's thinking about your family, knowing that maybe you want a stir fry, you want a pasta, you want a soup with a salad. Look at what your family will eat and kind of plan it through what you need to buy in advance.
Okay, then you're going to have I'm thinking of someone listening to this going, yeah, but I've got picky eaters.
Of course, we all have picky eaters. So I don't know, that's your problem, but you got to figure it out. But also, I think that kids, I have a whole section in our cookbook about picky eaters. I can't tell you how many people say that out loud in front of their children, and they're like, oh, but he's picky. I'm thinking, oh, sure is, and you just told him so, and you just gave him permission. So you know what, you have to get a little bit creative. So there's tips. So let's say, as an example, I love applesauce. I will not eat a raw apple. I don't like biting into them. I don't like the feeling of it on my teeth. I don't like the skin. But if I chopped it up and put it in the microwave or cooked it and made it soft, I'd eat the whole thing. I love apples, but I won't eat a raw apple. So your kids, when they're young and coming up, don't write it off that they just don't like that. So maybe they don't like raw carrots, but maybe they like cooked carrots. And ask them questions. Say, oh, like, can you tell me what you don't like? Is it the color? Is it the shape? There might be strange things when they're small, but if you can get them to articulate what exactly it is, then you can say, oh, let's try it this way. And I had a thing with my kids, and my nephew still does it. He's 21. It cracks me up. I'll say, you know what, you guys, you might just get the surprise. And they're like, what? When they're little, they're like, what's the surprise? I'm like, oh my gosh, it's when you think you're going to really dislike something and you try it and you go like, I got the surprise! And you make a big deal out of it. And these kids love getting the surprise. So if you can kind of market to your kids, it's all about marketing. They grow up as marketing with people, you know, enticing them. So I don't know if I should share that part of the cookbook, because I do have tricks for getting picky eaters.
And let's talk about that. We have the cookbook that's right here. We had Erin and Chris on in our last podcast, so it's great that I was able to bring you in. The ultimate cookbook for hockey families. But this really is for any family busy on the go, on the run, needing snacks and nutritional snacks. And
right.
Like, what was your idea? Because Erin had a lot of the connections to the hockey world.
Yeah.
It was your recipes, your thought process, your nutritional things that really kind of brought it together.
Well, Erin had that idea. She said, you know, people are struggling. We need to, you know, they ask me the same questions all the time. She's like, I'm kind of tired of answering. She's like, but I know the nutrition, but I don't really cook. I just assemble things. I'm like, well, that is actually the way it is. It's not really cooking. It's putting together, you know, components to make a meal, add a sauce, you're done. And so she said, no, but I need you to do it. So anyways, she told me her idea, and I said, yeah, that is great. So we just sat down and looked at the busy family and what they actually have time to do and are willing to do. And people are willing to cook for their athletes. It seems more like they just want their kids to succeed. So the hockey component, dance moms, like all of these moms are like, what do I give them so they can get through? So we just did that. We broke it down by nutrition. We did smoothies. We did, you know, granola, just basic recipes. And then we have ways to throw it together. We empowered the kids by doing design your own sniper smoothie. Again, we're marketing. We're a sniper smoothie. We have power packs. So there's fun ways that you can make regular foods seem a little bit more exciting.
Are there foods that you had banned that you didn't allow the kids to have growing up?
I still don't. Like, we will do the drive-thrus. We eat chips on Friday night. We do it all. Like, my husband loves jujubes, like, more than anything. We have all that stuff, and I don't think it's even realistic to take it away. I grew up eating, I would break my piggy bank and ride my bike and buy every bit of chocolate there was at this store. I think when that takes over the healthy eating, that's when we have a problem. And so no, I don't ban anything. I still don't. Mm-hmm. And I don't make my family not eat wheat and dairy because I can't. It's not fair. They don't seem to have a problem. I do watch them though to see if, you know, it develops at some point. My son Alexander does have, like, he has eggs, wheat, dairy, and he was a 13-year-old boy playing competitive hockey trying to gain weight. I was feeding him cheesy eggs on toast every day. And then we found out, like, oh my gosh, I'm almost poisoning the poor kid. And then when he did a month of eating, which is so hard, like that was brutal, he felt great. And he will still say to me, Mom, will you bring me back to like that? Will you cook for me? And I'm like, of course I will, but then you can't go eat pizza at lunch. It wrecks it.
You can do all that. Okay, so if I asked you then, I mean, and what would be the 5 things that everybody should have in their kitchen?
Like food or
yeah, no, okay, so let's do this.
Anything.
Okay, 5 things, 5 components, 5 things in your kitchen that you think everyone should have.
You need a good cutting board. A big one, so that the food you're cutting isn't flying off and you're getting frustrated.
Okay.
And a lot of it is just objections, like, I don't like chopping. Well, is your knife dull? Do you have a good knife? Because if you're chopping with a dull knife, it's brutal. So you need a knife and you need a cutting board.
A big cutting board.
Yeah,
okay.
You need a good saucepan, like a pot to make soup, to make sauces. You need, oh my God, I love this. I don't think you need anything fancy. You need a really good blender in today's world. You need to be able to make good smoothies. You can make soup, you can make sauces in them. You need onions, carrots, and celery all the time in your pantry so that you can start a sauce, a soup, a salad, a stir fry.
A lot of people now, and I don't have one of these because you know me, I'm not very good in the kitchen. I don't own one of those Crockpot or like this. There's a new thing out there. What is it? What is that? Like, how are people cooking with it?
So it's a pressure cooker. Okay. So I don't actually have one, and I don't know. So that's not my. I get why people want it and why there's a huge hype because it's claiming to have meals in under an hour.
Okay.
Put everything
which
in.
is what people are dying for.
Yeah, because the slow cooker, it is a 4 to 8 hour process no matter what, which is beneficial if you're an advanced prep person and you're getting it, leaving it in the morning and coming home to it. It's amazing, the slow cooker.
Okay.
And the Instapot sounds to me like you get home and you just toss it all in and you push a button and it comes out. And I've been watching people with it and I think a lot of it is great. So if you think you're going to use it and that's your style of using it, then you need that. You should try it. And they're not super expensive. I don't think they're a big investment. So I would definitely try one. But I have a slow cooker. I don't necessarily cook in it as much as let's say I'll make a chili and I want it ready when I get home. So I'll just cook it on the stovetop and then throw it in the slow cooker and then it's ready. And then I entertain with my slow cooker a lot, like holding things for groups or, at Christmas I put my mashed potatoes in it or whatever so that it's ready and done and I don't have to, take up stuff. So, so what else do you need? I feel like I could go on.
I know, you have all the fancy gadgets, but you don't need all the fancy gadgets.
No, you don't, but you do need a sharp knife. So get a knife sharpener, get a good cutting board, get a great blender, and that's like cooking equipment. And what else do I have? Oh, good spatula. You need a good spatula.
She's
for the
coming
blender too.
Now, you didn't have an opportunity to cook really in the kitchen because you said your mom was just so amazing that you stayed out of the kitchen. But what would you recommend for people to have taught their kids? What would be 5 things that every kid should know before heading to university or before heading off on their own that they should be well equipped to be able to do this?
Okay, so I started when my kids turned 8. This was the rite of passage. We have a gas cooktop, so cooking over gas flame is dangerous. So I felt at 8 they were ready to be mature enough and understand how to do it. So we started with scrambled eggs and teaching them the safety around it. Tie your hair back, roll your sleeves up, make sure nothing's here, all of it. And then so eggs are very important and they're very versatile and they're very inexpensive. They're great, just scrambled eggs, fine, great source of protein. Except for my son Alexander, but he knows how to make them. And then you can make omelets, you can make frittatas, hard-boiled eggs for egg salad. So eggs are an incredible starting point. I think they should all know how to run a blender and a smoothie because they all like it and they get creative and it's a very easy, safe way for them to experiment. Soup. I think they should know how to make a soup because you can open a thing of broth, chop up vegetables, throw in a few noodles and some of your frozen chicken, and you've got chicken noodle soup.
I don't even know how to make a soup.
I'm going to teach you. Well, my son the other day, as an example, he does know how to cook, but the other day I was going to Silver Scissors, and there's a soup person next to the soup place. He's like, oh, can you bring me home some soup when you come back? And I was like, oh, I don't get mad about many things, but I was like, pardon me. You make your own soup. I'm going to be gone for 2 hours. And so I threw a bunch of vegetables and some soup. I came back, they had made a delicious parsnip spinach soup. He and his girlfriend. Because I shamed him. I'm like, are you kidding me? You are asking me to. Our fridge is full and you're that lazy that you're not going to throw together a soup. You're going to wait for me.
How long should a soup take then?
15 minutes. 15 minutes you can make a soup. It's just long enough to soften the pasta. If you're putting pasta, soften the vegetables. It does not take long. It is so simple.
Okay, someone is going to start with a very basic soup.
Yeah.
They have their big pot.
Big pot. Broth. Put the broth in.
What broth?
Chicken, vegetable, beef,
Like,
Doesn't
and
matter.
it comes in a container?
It comes in a Tetra Pak. You can make
Okay.
your own. We won't even go there.
Okay.
Just buy one.
Okay.
Any kind that you like.
Of broth. Throw it in.
Of broth. You put it in, start it boiling. While it's simmering, go chop up a carrot, a celery, and a small onion. Toss it in. As you're getting it done, throw it in. It's just simmering. Then look in your fridge. What do you have? Oh, I have red peppers and I have some broccoli. Chop that up, put it in, and then go into your cupboard and find a little bit of like alphabet noodles, spaghetti noodles, crack them up, let's say a quarter cup. Throw those in, because now it's boiling. The pasta and the vegetables are softening together. And then if you have beans, black beans, throw some black beans in there, like a few. If you had diced tomatoes, throw some of those in there. Chicken, it doesn't matter. You've got noodle, vegetable soup, and you can put in beans or whatever. And then you taste it and go, oh, it needs a bit of flavor. Squeeze a lemon in it, or put a bit of soy sauce in it, or salt, pepper. It's done, and it'll be delicious. It'll be the best soup you've ever had.
That's the basic right there.
There's your basic
soup. I'm going to try that.
Oh my gosh.
I'm going to try it. Because you know what I do? My mom says, well, you know, how are you this week? And she's like, would you like to make me a soup? And I'm like, yes, please.
That's nice.
Because my mom makes the soup still,
Of
right?
course.
But it's interesting to go out of our comfort zone, right? And I've always said, you know, once we started doing all of our interviews on the morning show, I literally learned how to cook basics from you.
Yeah.
That I could come home, because I'm pretty much, I'll cook and I'll make great salads, and I love to do the vegetables. Tony does all the meats, and there's our meal. Like, but I've never done a casserole. I've never done anything in my oven. I've never done a turkey. You know, like this.
But you eat super healthy. So when you say you don't cook,
Well, I don't. But I don't. For me, cooking involves heat.
Yeah.
You know, and combinations or blending. Whereas for me, I just chop vegetables, make salads, and then he cooks.
I think
protein.
that is perfect.
So,
that's great.
And I like that way of eating.
Of
But
course.
when I think about whether I'm a good cook or not, I would have to say I have no concept of the real cooking that is what most people do. But we all have our comfort zones, right?
Yeah.
But it's about, and I'm finding that it trickles down. You learned yours from a mom who was way ahead of her time.
Yes.
Back
Oh,
then,
yeah, my mom
and you
was.
had a passion for it, right?
Mhm.
There's still families who are running to do takeout, and you know, running and getting that packaged stuff out of the cupboard, and kind of, you know,
'Cause,
using
you know,
that. And that's the scary
that's
part, is that
hilarious.
it just trickles down.
It does trickle down, and we're in a bad situation now with the last 2 generations of, you know, convenience food is very acceptable. It's heavily marketed. It's desirable. Like, it's amazing. Tastes good. It has everything. It wires we're wired to eat that food, and there's no mistake that it's planned that way. So our kids have learned that, and we have a problem. And so I think this whole wellness movement is only going to grow, and it's going to grow because the kids are getting sick, and the parents are probably halfway sick already, but it's not, you know, you can deal with your own illness, but when you start to see your kids becoming unwell and struggling, then you figure it out, probably. So I think there will be a turnaround. I think it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better, but then I think it will go back. People are going to start going back to basics, figuring it out, making the salad with a protein and, you know, and potatoes. There's nothing wrong with that. It's great.
And before we go, I want to talk a little bit about the opportunity for us to travel together. And you're one of the experts coming in on the Leanne and Friends Wellness Cruise that we have along the Danube in 2019. When you thought about having this opportunity and doing these seminars, you know, when you're in a foreign, you know, like we're going to be in little markets in little, you know, European towns, what were you excited about the opportunity to share this knowledge and have this experience on the cruise?
Yeah, my favorite thing when we go traveling is to go find the local market. I just walk around and look at it all and try to picture. And typically I don't have a kitchen when we're traveling, so the fact that we're going to have like a test kitchen to go back and cook things. So I'm excited to go and take people and talk about the food that's there and what we see and learn, and then grab a bunch of it and then go back to the ship and make something the next day, and then develop the recipe, like show how you can just take this and turn it into 3 recipes, and then they can hopefully go home and make it themselves. I'm really excited about kind of designing my ideal workout wellness food. The idea that I get to pick what is going to be available to passengers every day.
Right.
As an
whether or not
option.
you're going to do your Pilates or you're going to do
Yeah,
your yoga or you're
like-
going to do your HIIT training, like
I'm so excited.
here's what you're going to be eating.
They're going
Yeah.
to show up. There's going to be like a nice juice for them, and there's going to be beautiful water. And then when they're done, they're going to have a power pack, and then they're going to go have breakfast and have a smoothie bar. And, you know, and I like that it's an option because not everyone's into it, but like at least.
I still want my bacon.
Of course, so do I. But you're going to be able to also, you know, supplement that with, even if it's going to be a safe, kind of fun, delicious way to try something you've never tried before.
Right.
So like this day I might try that. But
Right. And it's not having that word diet. We don't
no,
use
we
the word
don't.
diet.
No. Diet.
It's a horrible word, isn't it?
It's a horrible word, and it's horrible in so many ways. It's defeatist, and you just kind of, it's not realistic. It's just, I just think you have to have a way of eating that suits you. Like the way you eat doesn't suit me at all. I do not like salad at all. Like I would not make a salad for myself or my family. I love cooked vegetables. I love, so I'll do raw vegetables, but like I love it when people make salads, but I'm not a salad person. So it's to understand what is good for your body and what you need, and then to, you know, one size does not fit all. So these diets are trying to conform people into one way. It's not good. Like I would eat vegetable soup every breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But if you gave me a salad, I just get bored and I would not eat it.
So people have to find, because they're joining in on a certain diet or they're going.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to break down all of the keto, all of that stuff right now.
There's a
But
lot.
for you, it's everyone's going to be individualized.
I think so. There are going to be parts of every single thing that will work for some and not for others. So I think it's just to understand your body, what makes it feel good, really pay attention to it, and pick and choose. I mean, try it on, see, but don't feel like, oh, I can't do that. Like, I cannot do a juice cleanse to save my life. Like, I need to chew food. I need it. I like it. I love the juices, but I see them as a supplement to, you know, what I'm eating. So I think people just need to look at themselves as individuals. And same, like I have a friend who's like, she forces her kids to eat foods that she likes. I'm like, they really, truly don't like it. But she can't seem to understand. Like she has to not project her things onto those kids. Like they need to do, I'm not saying you have to tailor everything, but some people have individual tastes like that. I don't like, my sister loves salad and she loved margarine. You can make me eat margarine if my life depended on it. I ate butter and I ate soup. So we were two kids in the same family with extremely different tastes, and we still do. So you have to kind of find out what works for you, what works for your family, and figure it out. It's tough.
We're trying to figure it out.
We're
Each
trying to
and every
figure
day
it out.
we are trying to figure it out. If people can find more information, Kitchen Connected, best way to go?
Yeah.
With the K.
KK.
Kitchen Connected with the K, .ca.com.
.com. Yeah.
KitchenConnected.com if you're looking for more information on Korey, on her programs, and just some really great information. Thanks so much for joining us.
You're
See you
welcome.
soon back in my kitchen.
Yay.
And there it is. That's episode 6 of Living Your Life.